sportsradiodetroit.com.
Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wrestling Fans here on Sports Radio Detroit. I'm Marty. Standing on the apron waiting the hot tag is Ben. Adam had some family obligations to take care of, so it's going to be a two-man show tonight. Ben, aside from being busy at work like the rest of America, how's life going?
No, life's good. Life's fine. I'll fully admit this. I did not know Backlash was this Sunday. I thought it was last Sunday. I'll be completely honest.
You know what? I thought it was too, because I'm like, oh man, we didn't do a prediction show. And then I looked and I was like, oh wow, we're good to go.
Well, right, because the funny thing is, because around these times, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I look forward more towards the NXT side of things, because I freely admit I watch NXT more than I watch SmackDown. And it's just, I go to the network and I'm like, hey, like this is going to be good. And I'm like, wait, 2016 is on? Boo. So, yeah, I got caught off guard. But I'm really excited for TakeOver. TakeOver is going to be good.
Oh, TakeOver's always good. So, yeah, I think you're right on the nail on that one. I figure this week we'll jump into some topics and do our prediction show next to last, because there's a topic I really want to discuss. I think I'd like to get your insight on. First thing I want to talk about is Billy Corgan and you broke the story to me and Adam. Billy Corgan, not out of the wrestling business. He's buying, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But his capacity is kind of weird. He's basically bought the remnants of a dying breed. He's basically bought the NWA, which has, it's basically off the map unless you live in the hot NWA territories, which is almost all down south. So my question for you, Ben, is, and I've taken a look at the roster. I've literally heard of none of them. What do you think of this move? Because I think it's kind of weird, but what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I commend Billy Corgan for not giving up on his dream, because he was forced out of TNA. I mean, TNA was supposed to be his, and they found a way to get out from underneath his thumb. But I commend him. It's a historic brand, and he's a guy that cares about wrestling and cares about putting on a good show. Maybe we get a third act in wrestling outside of Ring of Honor, if you want to consider Ring of Honor right up there with the WWE and TNA and everything like that. I mean, Ring of Honor and TNA are kind of at the same level if you think about it a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if he can sink money into it, build popularity, and get into the heritage of the NWA and get people excited about it, I'm happy for him, because you can tell he cares about the business, and that's why I think TNA needed him. They needed a guy who truly cared, a guy like Jeff Jarrett that we've talked about countless times on this show. A guy that truly cares about the business, who's not just in for the money grab. Because once Hogan took over TNA, that's when the downfall began, because he only cared about money. He only cared about putting people over the top that were his friends, and it was the same thing that led to WCW's downfall. And when you have a guy like Corgan, when you have a guy like Jeff Jarrett, guys that are passionate about the true foundations and cornerstones of this business, you're going to have a great product. So it's going to probably take him a while, but I'm excited. I'm excited for him. It was interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a lot of independent wrestlers too that, like, from watching Ring of Honor, they do their top prospect tournament every year, and all those guys, every single one of them is an independent wrestler. Guys that they want to see on the fan reaction, see how they do, and to see what these guys can provide in the ring. And these guys, I mean, there's guys that were in this year's tournament that could go down and be key members of this new NWA. One of the guys, John the Southern Savior Schuyler, is one of them. I actually kind of thought he'd win this year's top prospect because he was so good. But they didn't. They went with some former MMA guy. Forgive me, I can't remember his name. But there's plenty of guys out there that I think they could build around if it's done properly. I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic on what we could potentially get out of this. It's good. I don't see a TV deal happening anytime soon, obviously, except for maybe in some local markets. But I don't think anything national happened for a while.
Well, no, but he can.
But I'm curious to see what they're going to do.
Well, I was going to say he doesn't necessarily in this day and age. You don't need TV necessarily. That's the best part. He could go next level if he really wanted to, and partner with a streaming service, an actual streaming service. If he could get a deal with Hulu, as an example, or like PlayStation View or something like that, get younger viewers, cord cutters, and circumvent traditional over-the-top TV. He actually, I mean, you can get creative. I mean, he could maybe like strike a deal with, Amazon, Twitter, Facebook, these other platforms that are interested in kind of going that route. I mean, he could truly be groundbreaking with this. That's why I'm excited for him.
Yeah, he really does. He has multiple avenues he could take. So, and that's another reason I'm cautiously optimistic. Like, there's no shackles on him to, at least that I can see. He can kind of do what he wants to do and run it how he wants it to be run. I think one of the biggest roadblocks he's going to find is the NWA traditionalists, guys who used to work for NWA, maybe behind the scenes, whatever. They're going to kind of be like, no, can't do that. It's going to be interesting to see how this falls out. But I mean, I don't know. I think the potential is there to be something really, really good. We all know, everybody listening to this show knows that X-Pac, one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. I love him. He was in the news again, Ben, and the report is that he got arrested in LAX for smuggling methamphetamines. His story is that it was just Candida cleanse capsules to cleanse up a yeast infection that he has, and that he's still sober. Now, I've done a little more follow-up on this. He's, I believe tonight, on Wednesday, he's recording his latest podcast interview, and he does it live on, I believe it's on YouTube. And he's going to do an actual polygraph test to prove that he's not lying. So I kind of believe him. But when the story first broke, I even said to you guys, well, there goes any shot of him ever getting to the Hall of Fame. What do you make of this story? I mean, now knowing that he's going to take a polygraph live on YouTube to prove his innocence, what do you make of this? Because like when it first broke, I was like, oh man. First of all, I felt bad because he's back on drugs, and then all the other fallout. But what are your thoughts?
Well, lie detectors can be beat. I don't know if he has the intuition and the fortitude to beat a lie detector, so that's interesting. But I don't know why he's trying so hard to clear his name. I mean, I really don't. He's a guy that this would be what, his third strike against him, literally. Like, I think,
if not more, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we all know he battles inner demons, and it sucks. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, he obviously needs help in some way, shape, or form, and maybe guys that are close to him, and that former members of DX and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, kind of try to help him. They try to keep him close, but he just can't get out of his own way. And when it gets to that point, you need an intervention. I mean, quite honestly, the story seems like he's in denial. I think the whole lie detector thing is spectacle because it shows how far in denial he truly is. I think he needs to go to rehab. I mean, if this is truly the case, it sucks, but you need to have an intervention and be like, dude, you need to go and get help. You can't keep doing this. You can't. Right. I mean, it seemed like he was on the up and narrow, at least for a little bit.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's troubling.
He has this vicious cycle where he'll be fine for a while, and then just all of a sudden he'll just completely relapse. You mentioned fortitude and will to beat a lie detector test. I don't know if he has it or not. Yeah, I mean, just listening to him on his show. I mean, he's a person where if he's at fault for something, he'll be like, "Yeah, dude, this was me. This was my fault." That's the only reason I'm kind of thinking maybe this time he's telling the truth. Maybe actually this is what it actually was for. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, but it's just it's just a shame to hear that he's going through this again. But like you said, he gets in his own way, and it's sad. It's disheartening. WWE was dealt a pretty crappy blow recently. Probably about 2-3 weeks ago, during the Roman Reigns Braun Strowman debacle they've been having. Well, not debacle, but the storyline they've been running.
Awesome.
Strowman got hurt.
Yeah, dude, that storyline's been
really
great.
Yeah, well, it's officially scrapped. Strowman is out for several months. He had reconstructive elbow surgery. That really sucks because it looked like they had big plans for him. I believe in the feud he was definitely going over on Reigns. It seemed like, and now that's all put on hold. It's going to be we're not going to have Braun Strowman for a while. Do you think this is a way to finally? I mean, they could play off the angle. Maybe they can finally turn Reigns full heel. Be like, look, this is what I did to Braun Strowman. Who's going to stop me now, kind of thing?
Well, they already did that on Monday, basically, because when Kurt Angle came out and announced that on Raw, that exact news, Reigns came out, and it was kind of funny because Angle makes the announcement. He starts walking as if he's going to leave, and he even hesitates because he hesitates because they play his music. And you can tell that wasn't supposed to happen because he stops knowing that he's going to get interrupted, but then his music keeps playing. So he's like, okay, I guess I'll slowly leave. And then he, gets one foot on the steps. The music changes, to Roman Reigns' theme, and Reigns comes out. He's saying what he always says, this is my yard. We don't need to do this Extreme Rules thing in 3 weeks. I'm number one contender. I can beat Lesnar, blah, blah, blah. Of course, through a chorus of boos. So I think the heel turn's already there. I think they finally realize they need a super heel because they don't have one anymore. Right. they have one kind of in Samoa Joe, but if you're not a diehard like us, you don't know who the hell Samoa Joe is outside of a guy that just came up from NXT and hurt Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is a pure face now. So he's not a super heel anymore. You need a guy to be that super heel. And the heel-on-heel feud that Reigns and Strowman had was glorious and epic. It was finally a good, solid storyline. Because it seems like now creative's formula is just, hey, we're going to do one big storyline, and that's it. Everyone else can just fall by the wayside and it'll sort itself out. But we're going to focus on one major storyline and carry it for a month or two, which is stupid, but this was a good storyline. This storyline, brewed for a little bit. A lot of people were wondering, why did Strowman always interfere, with Reigns and everything like that. So, yeah, I was excited for it. I loved the fact that they both were, bandaged up, 2 weeks ago, and Reigns still comes out and is like, I'm ready to scrap, man. You want to scrap? And then, Strowman tries to come at him and he kicks his arm, and then they go to town, and I loved it. I thought it was great. This is what creative needs to do. Create storylines, get things going, stir the pot. And it sucks that Strowman's injured and he's out for probably a good solid 6 to 7 months, probably 8.
Yeah, I think they said 6 at minimum.
Yeah, so that sucks. It really does. But yeah, now what are you going to do? Because you have this fatal 5-way, which again we've talked about on this show which is stupid.
Yep.
And it's because the reason why it's stupid is that it stalls storylines. Thank God Rollins and Samoa Joe still have a storyline technically going. But yeah, it sucks because Strowman was coming into his own as a guy kind of like Roman Reigns, was just going to, beat up people and just destroy things until he finally got a title shot. It reminded me, quite honestly, of when Taker and Kane became a tag team for the first time. They were the Brothers of Destruction. They would literally come in during random matches and just destroy whoever was in the ring and then leave.
Yep.
That was awesome. I loved it. But, yeah, it sucks that it's going to be shelved until God, November, December at the earliest. At the earliest. It's awful.
Yeah.
That is awful,
It's
Marty.
funny that your mind. It's funny that your mind took you to the Brothers of Destruction, because when I was watching this feud and watching Strowman just annihilate people, I was thinking of when Stone Cold first made it big in WWE, when he with the whole Pillman House thing, and when Stone Cold was just going completely bonkers. That's the first thing I thought of. I loved it, because that whole Pillman versus Austin angle was amazing, and this whole Strowman Reigns thing, like that's kind of. It was gearing up. I mean, it was the best thing they've done in quite some time. And you're right, it's awful, especially considering Strowman he had a full head of steam, and there was nothing that it seemed like there was nothing that was going to stop him. And he was getting better every match. His promos were getting better. Not that they were ever going to be groundbreaking stuff, but he just had so much momentum, and now it just completely derailed. And it's a shame. The good news is he's a young enough dude where he can come back, and he's got the size. That he's got the size where they can just pick up the ball right where he dropped it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, it's just sad to see a guy who had built up so much momentum for a guy that I don't think many of us thought was going to do much, just because he was so big, and he was kind of like, oh well, he's just that fourth Wyatt family member. Now he's kind of, I would say he's probably the second best in that group outside of Bray. Do you think I'm wrong on that one, or how do you feel?
Oh, no, I would agree to an extent with that, only because he got right on the level of Bray Wyatt, and I think he superseded Bray Wyatt, to be honest. Wow. Just because they don't mention him with the Wyatt family anymore.
Right.
He's his own guy. And, yeah, and we know that they don't want to push Bray. I mean, they pushed him a little bit. He finally held the title, and then they're like, hey, by the way, it's leaving you. See ya. So that's why it sucks, but, like, this is why it's funny, because one thing I just thought of was, people always give The Miz a lot of crap. And
yes.
For not doing the things like, that Strowman does, like that half the guys in the locker room do. But Miz is never injured. If he leaves, it's because he's doing something in the entertainment field. You look at it, you look at the recent roster, there's a lot of guys that have been leaving because they've been injured. Sasha Banks can't stay healthy. Strowman's now out. You had Kalisto, I think he was out for a little bit, and now he's, used sparingly. You have a lot of people just missing a lot of time. And I know a lot of people give The Miz crap, for being a guy who won't take the highest risk, and he barely goes on the top rope as is for that reason.
Yeah, when he does, it's a double axe handle.
Well, right. But it makes sense to a point, because now you start to wonder, do these guys just go too hard? Because it's not like it's ECW where you're getting hit with an object and you're out. And those guys wrestled at 80%, and that was considered 100% a lot of the time. These guys are just getting injured, just doing things. Just
spots.
Yeah, just doing everyday spot, not everyday spots, but like just doing spots. So like there has to be a happy medium, because this is why, like, and I joked with you that I don't really watch SmackDown. This is part of the reason why. There's like, you're not letting younger talent flourish, and the talent that you have here isn't doing anything, because they're either injured or creative's just burying them. So,
yep.
Thank God Shelton Benjamin's going to be back soon. But
yeah,
because he's honestly going to help SmackDown, because there was rumors that John Cena was going to come back early from his little whatever the hell he's doing, vacation, honeymoon, whatever crap John Cena has going on. But this is why you have guys that just get injured because they want to do crazy, insane thing. It looks great on TV, it really does, but you also have to have that kind of sanity point, which I don't think they're ever going to get, because a lot of people like it. They liked the Attitude Era and stuff like that. That's why you can't hit someone over the head with a chair anymore. They don't want concussions.
And to me personally, even though I'm a wrestling fan, to me that's the best way to go, because you're there to put on a show. You're there to put on entertainment. These guys, even though they're trained athletes, they're entertainers. And those headshots from the chairs and all that stuff. That's not only career threatening, that's life threatening. I mean, you take a look at Dynamite Kid. He's confined to a wheelchair. If he hasn't passed away already, I don't know. I haven't seen anything, but I know he's confined to a wheelchair. He's in bad shape because of his spine and his neck. I mean, he's just from doing that ridiculous diving headbutt for years. Chris Benoit, another prime example. Look at how messed up he got from doing all the headbutts and chair shots to the head. So I think they went the right way on that one. And it's just sad that as a society that's what we want now.
Well,
that's the only way wrestling can be good.
I was going to say, if you want a quick way to bruised ribs, do 20 back bumps just on a ring. Just even dead center of the ring where it's the easiest to give. Do 20 back bumps in consecutive days for 5 days. Just 20. That's all you need. You'll have bruised ribs for a good solid month and a half.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, people say wrestling's fake, but you still use your body as a prop. So,
absolutely.
The bumps are real. The punches are pulled, yes. But even sometimes, if you don't take a bump right away when you get a clothesline, guess what? You get a nice little right hook across the face, and you learn quickly right at contact to take that bump. If not, because a big guy will knock you the hell out. It happened when I was in training, to be quite honest, and it was awful to watch. It was so bad because we had one guy, he was like 6'8", and another guy that was maybe 5'7", and this guy was like a cruiserweight. He could move. So the guy even said, he goes, I'm gonna swing through my clothesline. So if you don't fall, you're getting knocked out. And the kid was like, yeah, whatever. Goes right off the rope. Didn't immediately take the bump and got knocked out. So, and yes, like I said, I freely admit wrestling is fake, but yes, your body is still a prop. You will have bumps, even running ropes. You're going to get a bruise from running ropes, guys. Because it's airplane wire. It's not a rope. It is airplane wire. So wrapped in plastic that looks like a rope. Trust me,
right? And even
it hurts.
Even if it was a rope, that's still going to hurt because that rope is stretched pretty tight.
Well, that's why I honestly go nuts whenever they do a spot right at the edge of the ring. Because, I mean, I know I say it and the announcers say it. It is literally the hardest part of the ring. So that's as close to concrete as you get, and you still do that spot because you're literally going right on a steel beam. That's what's there. There's nothing there. It's wrapped in, a mat. But that mat doesn't help, the forgiveness of that steel beam one bit, really. And the fact that these guys are doing, suplexes on that now. You're just like, holy hell, like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And it's brutal. It's brutal.
I mean, I'm sorry for the weird tangent, but it's just something that just came to my head.
No, that's perfectly fine. Like I said, I love the insight. I don't remember who found this one because it's been a while since we've done a show. I don't remember who found this one. I think it might have been you. I don't remember. Before Cody Rhodes left WWE, and before the brand
you found this one. This one's a good one.
Oh, was this me? Okay.
Yeah, you found this one. This was interesting.
Cody has confirmed this. Apparently, they were going to use Cody on both shows. He was going to be on one, and Stardust was going to be on the other. And that's interesting to me because that just shows how much faith WWE had on him. But then Cody went on to say, well, one guy approves everything, and clearly it didn't get approved. My question on this is who was the one guy? Was it Vince saying, no way, we're not doing that, or was it Triple H? Because we all know Vince has pretty much, by and large, taken a back seat. I mean, he's still there, and he's still the boss. I mean, even Jericho says that. But we all know Triple H is pretty much the guy running the show for the most part. So and Cody didn't say who it was. He just said one guy has the approval. What are your thoughts on that? Because I thought that was creative as hell to have one persona on one show and his regular persona on another.
It is so sad it didn't happen because it literally would have been night and day. It would have been night and day. You could have had Cody be whoever the hell he wanted. he could have been himself, like he is now, with the American Nightmare, and he honestly could have been whatever he wanted. He could have been whatever he wanted, and then the next night he's Stardust. Would have been great. It would have been so night and day. It would have been perfect. And yes, you have to suspend belief a little bit, but let's be honest. We suspend belief with Finn Balor every month, even though it's awesome that he does it, and it's a nod to his independent days. But if we can suspend belief for Finn Balor once a month, why can't we do it every week with Cody Rhodes? We know who Stardust is.
Right.
It would have been awesome. It would have been so fun to see. I can only speculate, quite honestly, that probably Vince McMahon was like, we're not doing this. Because I know there was some friction between Cody and the front office of the WWE. I mean, that's evident and apparent. But it just would have been so great and so unique and so different and so special. Because even if you do the brand split, it would have been fantastic. And that's when you could have done it too. Could have done it right at the brand split. Because people were like, oh my God, Stardust is, on Raw or on SmackDown or whatever, right? But then like the next week or like in 2 weeks or something, all of a sudden you just see Cody Rhodes coming out as like the American Nightmare doing like that promo or whatever. Mm-hmm. My God, that would have been electric. That would have been so great for a guy who literally has this industry coursing through his DNA. It would have been amazing. It would have been I would have wanted him to create a third persona and have him go on NXT. Screw it. He literally has run of the whole yard.
Right.
That would have been awesome.
It's funny you mentioned about the business coursing through his DNA, because it brought something to my attention that I thought was kind of weird. This past week on Raw, Goldust went heel. Did you see this?
No, I must have missed it in my channel flipping.
He went heel and turned on R-Truth. Like, he beat the living snot out of R-Truth. So now Goldust is heel. And it's kind of weird because Goldust is on TV, once a month at best?
At best.
So it's kind of weird. Like, all of a sudden they're going to have Goldust go heel. Like, do they have some kind of plans for him? He's 48 years old. He's got to be winding down here soon. I mean, granted, he had a resurgence, let's say, about a year or two ago. But, I mean, he's got to be winding down. So it's kind of baffling to me that all just out of the blue. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm kind of glad they did, because the Golden Truth, while they were funny, was never going to go anywhere. I mean, the fans were kind of like, okay, enough is enough. But it was just surprising to me that they had him go heel just out of nowhere. And I mean, I'm going to go to my grave as a Goldust fan, because I think Dustin Rhodes or Dustin Runnels, whatever you want to call him, I think he's one of the most underrated and unappreciated WWE guys ever.
Best theme music in the business. Best theme music in the business.
So good.
If you don't get chills when you see the beginning of his Titantron and you hear the opening chord of his song, if you don't get chills, you're not human. I mean, you're not, because it's amazing. And seeing it in person is next level stuff too. My goodness.
Oh yeah, I've seen him. Well, until he pretty much retired or left WWE for a while there. I saw him almost every time I was at a live event. Same with Undertaker. Until, I'd say, 2002, I saw Undertaker literally every time I went to a WWE show. Goldust was right there with him. I mean, I've seen him so many times. And you're right. It was one of the. It's amazing. The gold circle disc confetti coming down and the lights. And it was outstanding. You're absolutely right. Sorry, guys, we got off on a tangent there, but this is one that I thought, this story drives me nuts. And Ben, this is the one I was telling you about. I sent it to you. Scott Steiner.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what a piece of crap. I understand Steiner had a bad experience his last run in WWE when he was working with Triple H. I get that. But Scott Steiner, and this is courtesy of Sportskeeda.com, Scott Steiner was doing an interview, and of course it turned to wrestling. And the interviewer, whose name I forget, he asked him something about the WWE. And listeners, I apologize for the language, but this isn't me. This is Steiner. Steiner said, "Fuck the WWE. The company's run by the biggest douchebags on the planet." And the interviewer's kind of like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, who's running the company? Who's in the authority? And he put quotation marks up. And the interviewer said, well, Triple H and Stephanie. He's like, right, Triple H and Stephanie. So they're the biggest douchebags in the business. Everything's about them. It's not about the business. It's not about the fans. It's what they want. And the interviewer, you could tell the interviewer kind of felt awkward, and just through the text of it, and he steered the conversation to the Hall of Fame. And Steiner basically said, the Hall of Fame is a sham. And he said, you want proof that it's a sham? He said, Triple H had a statue made for Ric Flair. He said, where's the statue? He said, is it in the Hall of Fame? He's like, no, there is no Hall of Fame. So where's the statue? And the interviewer said something along the lines of, oh, I'm assuming Triple H's house. He was right. It's at Triple H's house. He said, that's where the Ric Flair tribute statue's at. And then he referenced an old rumor that's been going around for 20 plus years, if not more. The whole Macho Man, Stephanie McMahon thing. There was a big rumor, for those that don't know, years ago, that Randy Savage molested Stephanie. It's been categorically denied by Stephanie and the Poffo family for the most part. But I know the Genius at one point had said something like, where there's smoke, there's fire. He said, I can't confirm it. He said, but where there's smoke, there's fire. You got to believe that WWE was intent down the line to put the Steiner brothers in the Hall of Fame because of their work in NWA and WCW. That went out the window with this one, don't you think, Ben?
Just a little bit, yeah. That's not that's not happening anytime soon. Right when he did a Frankensteiner to his Hall of Fame chances, you can't be that incendiary and then expect to get invited back or having any bridges mended or anything like that. Yeah, I mean you just can't. I mean, yeah, they're
right.
And it's a shame because the Steiners, at least, I mean, they went to the University of Michigan. They're local guys, at least here in Michigan. I mean, there's an affinity for them, and I understand you can be frustrated with things, but my God, dude, that is a career ender. It really is in any way, shape, or form, because people don't forget. The McMahons do not forget.
Nope. Look how long it took for them to mend fence with Bruno Sammartino, and that was all because of Triple H. That wasn't even because of the McMahons. That was all because of the Triple
Ultimate
H.
Warrior.
Yeah.
Look how long that took, and it wasn't any of the McMahons. It was Triple H.
Yep.
Sting, even, which
yep.
We know my diatribe and how I feel about Sting getting his WrestleMania moment, but he is a Hall of Famer, and he wasn't going to get that shot in the Hall if it wasn't for Triple H. Because Sting did basically what Scott Steiner did to Vince McMahon right when Vince McMahon bought WCW. He told him off. And I know that for a fact. He told him off and said, I'm not going to work for you. I have no respect for you. Called him names, spit on basically who Vince McMahon is as a person, how he runs his company, and left. That's why he immediately went to TNA. Because he said, I'm going to do everything I can to spite you. And if it wasn't for Triple H, Sting would have never, ever, ever came back in any way, shape, or form. Because he was done with Vince McMahon in wrestling when he went to TNA. He was done. He was finished. He was content. Because he went out on his own terms. But, yeah, if it wasn't for Triple H, people were like, oh, my God, the Icon's back. It never would have happened without Triple H. So if you don't like Triple H and you love Sting, you are messed up because they are one and the same.
Yep. Yeah, it just baffles me because think of the money that Steiner could have made down the road. They could have made, and I'm not saying this was going to happen, but they could have made a Scott Steiner. They love making DVDs. They could have made a 3-disc Scott Steiner DVD. They could have done a throwback retro style T-shirt, like they did with Ultimate Warrior. They could have done so much stuff with Scott Steiner down the road, him going into the Hall of Fame. But now he's completely burned down that bridge. I don't see it ever happening.
Oh yeah, no, me either. Unless Vince McMahon is long gone and Triple H decides to sell the WWE to somebody, it's not happening at all.
Right, and you know what? Honestly, and you know me. Normally, I don't side with the pettiness on this one. I honestly wouldn't blame WWE and Triple H and company for not doing it. To be honest with you, I mean it was I don't know, it was a little ridiculous. But we all know Scott Steiner's he's a little crazy. He's a little nuts. He's
that
one of those
roid
guys,
rage, man.
Yeah, Yeah, he's one of those guys that you would routinely hear the youngsters say, "Man, you get in the ring with him, and he'll just potato you, and he'll brutalize you, kind of like Bob Holly did." He was just one of those guys that people always had in ring terror horror stories about.
Yep.
It was announced this week on Ring of Honor, and this is pretty cool. It was announced this week on Ring of Honor that IWGP, or not on Ring of Honor, but on their Facebook page and Twitter page, IWGP created a new title. First time in, I believe, 45 years, I think they said. It's going to be the IWGP US title. And it's going to prominently be defended here in the States, obviously, but they'll do it over in Japan as well. And they're going to have a tournament for it on July 1st and 2nd. It's going to be a round-robin tournament. And they announced the first competitor as being, in my opinion, one of the faces of Ring of Honor. Jay Lethal is the first entrant into this. Ben, I'm curious as to your thoughts on this, because the IWGP heavyweight title is one of the most prestigious wrestling titles in the world. The IWGP Intercontinental is also very prestigious. What do you think is going to go? Do you think this is maybe, and of course we all know the IWGP Tag Team Champions with the Dudleys and all those guys holding the titles. We know how prestigious that is. What are your thoughts on this U.S. title? Because I'm excited by it, but I'm also kind of curious to see how they're going to use it.
I think, quite honestly, it's used the exact same way as the United Kingdom Championship's used. It's going to be used as an anchor for a territory, because Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling have intermingled, and I think this is a way for them to actually fortify that intermingling, because now there's literally something tangible and concrete that combines them, other than just, hey, Jay Lethal is going to fight someone from New Japan. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
It's not just like, crossing the card. It's actually, let's say Jay Lethal wins, or, Briscoe wins, or whoever, wins. He literally, like, one night, as you're watching Ring of Honor, you could have someone from New Japan come in and be like, I want that belt. And you're going to be like, holy crap, like, what the hell? Because that belt is going to be basically the anchor point between two promotions. It's that
Yep.
belt is a literal bridge between two promotions. So in that sense, it is insanely interesting. And you said it, Marty, when you don't create a belt for 45 years, that belt's going to automatically have pressure to be prestigious and to
Yep.
carry that prestige. And this is it. This belt literally is a symbol that New Japan Pro Wrestling is crossing the Pacific Ocean, folks. I mean, this thing is this is major. I don't think people understand this.
No.
This is literally a object that is bringing two continents together. I mean, this is nuts. This has literally never happened before. I mean, it's awesome. It is fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. Wrestle Kingdom is going to be freaking amazing now because you have this bridge. It's going to be great.
Oh, absolutely. I'm curious to see who they're going to have in there, because let's say it's a 16-man tournament. I don't think it will be, but it'll probably be 8 New Japan guys, 8 Ring of Honor. If it's an 8-man tournament, it'll probably be 4 Ring of Honor, 4 New Japan. I'm thinking it'll probably be 16 guys, for the sheer fact that each company has more than 4 guys that are more than capable of being the first ever IWGP US champion, because they're going to want it on somebody that's going to sell tickets. They're going to bring in ratings, so they're going to want somebody there that can do that. They're not going to put it on just some Joe Blow nobody. They're going to want their prestigious guys in that tournament that aren't in the world title picture. So I doubt you're going to see Kenny Omega. I doubt you're going to see, and I'm drawing a blank here, who's the Ring of Honor champion. I can't think. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I apologize, listeners. My brain just fried right now. It's going to be interesting, and I'm really curious to see how this is all going to go, because their 6-man tag team division has been outstanding. It's been a lot of fun. The Briscoes and Bully Ray, they're the champions. They beat the Kingdom and Silas Young. I almost said Silas Red. That's funny. But the 6-man tag belts they're going strong. That's been fun to watch. So it's going to be great to see what IWGP U.S. title is going to be all about and who's going to be in this tournament. I can't wait to see it.
Where's Cody Rhodes right now?
Wherever he wants to be, Ben.
Well, but like
he bounces between three. He bounces between three companies. He's in TNA,
right?
He's in Ring of Honor, and he's in New Japan.
Because he would be the perfect person I would pin this belt against.
Exactly.
Not to bring this full circle, but he is the exact person I would have to be your inaugural champion. He's the first person that comes to mind. That's why I had to ask, because I didn't know. I knew he had some affiliation with TNA and New Japan. I didn't know if he also had some affiliation with Ring of Honor, but he's like the obvious choice.
Yeah, to my mind too. Yeah, he does all three. I have so much respect for Cody Rhodes and his work ethic and what he's doing. I mean, he does independent shows too. He's crazy. He doesn't stop. It's great.
Why should he though? I mean, he's a guy who has a lot left. He was barely used, and he's a Rhodes.
Right. Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head on that one. 2 topics left, Ben. Let's do our Backlash predictions. I really want to get into this last topic and pick your brain and see what you think on this one. But let's do Backlash predictions. That's
going to be a lot of goop Sunday. If you pick hard enough. I'm just going to throw that out there.
That's all right. Mine's mush too. It's been announced that the kickoff for Backlash is going to be Ty Dillinger and Aiden English. I don't know why this is a match. I've only seen them interact once. Maybe I'm just missing it. But Ty Dillinger and Aiden English in the kickoff. Adam gave us his picks. He went Ty Dillinger here. That's where I'm going to go as well. What do you think?
I think Ty Dillinger wins. Aiden English is interesting, just because he's half the Vaudevillains. But if this is going to help English launch a singles career, I'm all for it. But yeah, I mean that match is going to be good. Like, I'm okay with this being a kickoff match. Really am.
Me too.
Because people know who both these guys are. You have a guy in Dillinger that can pump up a crowd just by having his theme song hit. But I'm picking Dillinger, to win this one. Even though it would be kind of cool to see English get a win in a pay-per-view setting, but I just don't see it happening.
No, I don't either. And his character's real weird right now. He comes out and does a promo, and I know this is what he did in NXT, but it's just weird that they went back to it. He's coming out and he's singing his promos. It's really strange, and he loses the crowd. Like, the crowd just kind of looks at him and just shakes their head.
You mean as weird as a royalty guy like Hunter Hearst Helmsley that literally sticks out like a sore thumb? No way. Crazy. Right. I am shocked. This is my shocked face.
Yeah, and it's funny because he comes out and does his entrance. Like, he has. I don't even think he has the vaudevillain music anymore. I think it's something different. But the lights out, just a spotlight on him, and then he starts singing his promo. It's really strange, but whatever. I mean, they got to figure out something for him to do.
You know what would be great for him? And this is, again, if anyone in WWE Creative listens to this, hire me, because you can still keep like the vaudevillain type thing, but have Aiden English like being like a runner of a Nickelodeon or like a 1920s either bootlegger, because that would be interesting. That would be fun. But keep the element of the vaudevillains. I thought it was so cool that the screen filter would turn black and white and they would have that music. Have fun with it.
I agree.
Have fun with it. Have them be like this old time, like Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, like, ring guy. He can still sing his promos if you really want him to do that. If that's what he wants to do, he can do it. Just have him do it in a Ringling Brothers costume. Who the hell cares? But I don't know why they're throwing away with such a great original creative thing that the vaudevillains were. That was amazing.
Yeah. And if you remember when they got drafted up to SmackDown, you remember how excited I was? I loved the gimmick, and man, they just never got off the ground. They were off the ground for like a month. And then they became a comedy act, and I don't know if it was because of Simon Gotch's attitude. I don't know. It was so disheartening to me because I loved that gimmick. I thought it was so freaking original and creative, and it just fell by the wayside, and that's a shame.
Yeah.
They have a 6-woman tag match. Naomi, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch taking on Natalya, Carmella, and Tamina. Adam's going with Naomi, Charlotte, and Becky. I'm going Natalya, Carmella, and Tamina because I see Charlotte going back to being a heel and just turning on them because you can already tell there's friction between Charlotte and Naomi. Becky Lynch is kind of holding them together, but it's real tenuous. What are your thoughts on this one, Ben? I know you don't watch SmackDown very much. I know.
Well, I do know this, that Natalya, Carmella, and Tamina are calling themselves the Welcoming Committee.
Yes.
Which is
because they're the ones that welcomed Charlotte to SmackDown, and of course that was by attacking her. So that's why they're called the Welcoming Committee.
Oh my goodness. This is a toss-up, and you know what? I'm going to go on our running joke. You have the human free space out there. Take Naomi, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch.
That's fair.
Take the free space. When in doubt, take the free space.
That's more than fair. Also announced, Eric Rowan versus Luke Harper is going to happen. I'm going to go. Adam went Luke Harper. I'm going to go Eric Rowan. Just for the sheer fact they seem to be doing a little more with him than they have been with Harper. I don't know if that's by design. I don't know if maybe I'm just missing stuff. I don't know. But I'm going to go with Eric Rowan in this one. What are your thoughts?
I like both, but I like Luke Harper more as a singles guy. Luke Harper wins because he always gets the best of Rowan when they're in singles competition. Always. Like, it's funny because Luke Harper, they always make him be afraid of Eric Rowan, like Eric Rowan's going to beat him, but it never happens. Luke Harper wins every single time these two are in a ring together. So I'm going with Harper.
This next one I'm torn on because I don't care who wins because I like them both. But Baron Corbin versus Sami Zayn. Adam went Corbin. I want to say Sami Zayn, Ben. I want to say Sami Zayn so bad. But WWE has done nothing to show me that they're ever going to do anything with Zayn. And they seem to have Baron Corbin he's got that rocket strapped to his back. And that's fine by me because I love Baron Corbin. So I'm going to go Baron Corbin here. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, Sami Zayn is just the consummate utility tool for now until they pin a belt on him. I mean, it really is just a matter of when. But if you're not with the way that they pushed Corbin before WrestleMania, if he loses this match, it's over. I mean, he's going back to the bottom of the barrel, so he needs this win. So that's why I'll pick Corbin because he needs it. Yeah,
I agree. Let's get this one out of the way because this is I love tag team wrestling, but I hate this match because I hate the gimmick these guys have. Breezango take it on my boys, the Usos, for the tag titles. Adam went Breezango. I'm gonna stick with the Usos. I don't see them putting the belts on Breezango. To be honest with you, I just don't. What do you think?
I don't see how Breezango has any or even as a match for the titles. So yeah, I mean, I think the Usos they're going to take the championship. So Usos.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless they finally break up Breezango and we can actually see Tyler Breeze be himself, because that would be amazing. Creative hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
He's another one, though, that needs to get out of his own way. Because apparently his attitude and work ethic backstage is why he's in Breezango.
Yeah, but when he was in NXT, he got past it, and he was great as a singles guy.
He was. I agree.
So,
I remember several times, yeah.
That's where, you ask him, hey, are you done with this? Let him see what he can do.
I agree. These last three matches, I believe all three of these matches are main event level. But let's go with the one that I'm most excited for. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Dolph Ziggler. I'm not going to lie, the mark in me wants to pick Dolph Ziggler. It ain't going to happen. They're not going to have Nakamura lose his SmackDown debut match. No matter if it's Dolph Ziggler or not, I can't pick Ziggler in this one, so I have to go with Nakamura. Adam went with Nakamura. I'd be shocked if you went Ziggler. What are you thinking?
Ziggler loses everything that he's in, basically. Yeah, I mean, Nakamura, he is the face of this pay-per-view. He's not losing.
Right.
I mean, they're using him to promote the hell out of this thing. And, yeah, if you have him losing to freaking Dolph Ziggler, then, my God, everyone in creative should be fired. Everybody.
Well, see, not necessarily. I mean, I think Nakamura could take the loss, and it wouldn't really affect him because Dolph Ziggler has proven that he's legit. But that track record also works against him because every time they do something with him, they strip him right away. I mean, it just for whatever reason, I don't know. Yeah. But I think you're right. You know, I don't see Nakamura losing this one. I'd be shocked if he did. U.S. title is on the line as Kevin Owens defends against AJ Styles. Adam went Kevin Owens. I'm going to go AJ Styles because he hasn't had a title for a while. The whole Face of America thing that Kevin Owens is doing is just, it's so, I don't know.
Awesome? It's awesome. That word you're looking for, Marty, is awesome.
I don't care for it. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just silly, but, you know, whatever. I mean, I don't have a problem with Kevin Owens. I have a problem with the whole Face of America thing. I just think it's stupid. But what are your thoughts? AJ Styles or Kevin Owens?
Well, I like both. I think this match is going to be the match of the night.
I agree.
And
well, I think it'll be the second best match of the night. I think Nakamura and Ziggler is going to be the best match of the night.
Nope. This is going to be the match of the night, and AJ Styles will lose because AJ Styles is a main eventer, and AJ Styles and Randy Orton are going to cross paths. They have to.
That's a good point, and that's a natural segue to the last match. The weirdest WWE title match, I think, ever, or at least in recent memory, Jinder Mahal against champion Randy Orton. I'm surprised that they went with this. I'm surprised that they're keeping with this with Mahal. It's not a knock against Mahal. It's just it's so weird and so random. I kind of dig it because it's what we as wrestling fans want. It's somebody new. It's something different. But at the same time, you kind of look at it and go, really? 3MB guy? It's really bizarre. I can't see Mahal winning this, so I'm gonna pick Randy Orton. Adam picked Orton as well. What do you think? I'm assuming you're going Randy Orton.
Of course I am. Of course. I mean,
it's so weird seeing Jinder Mahal in the main event.
It is, and we talked about this off air, and I'll give you your due, Marty, because you make a fair point. Jinder Mahal is new, it's different, and it's unconventional.
Right.
Seeing him here shows that they're willing to be innovative. However, it also shows that they make terrible decisions.
Yes.
Because, I'm sorry, Jinder Mahal is not a main eventer. He looks like it. He is a good heel, but I don't see how you can put a championship on this guy. I mean, he's athletic as hell. He's a good in-ring performer, but if you're going to put a belt on him, if you want him to use this villain that he has, that the WWE loves with Middle Eastern villains.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, hell, you had Sergeant Slaughter during the Iraq War side with the Iraqis, for Christ's sake.
Yep.
So it would make sense that Jinder Mahal is fighting Kevin Owens for a U.S. championship.
Right.
It would make sense. Typical WWE fashion, which is not new, which is not creative, and it's not exciting. But yeah, Randy Orton wins this one hands down because you can't put a belt on. You can't put the WWE Championship on Jinder Mahal. If you do, I will stand up and applaud after that bell rings because no one in the world outside of Jinder Mahal and his family would have seen it coming.
Right. Yeah, it's just so bizarre. Like it was just he won that 6-pack challenge, and I was just kind of like, really? Like this is where they're going? And, that 6-pack challenge thing. I mean, everything pointed to Sami Zayn getting that win, and then the Bollywood boys or whatever the hell they're called, they came out of nowhere and distracted Zayn, and Mahal got the win. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see where it's going to go, but I don't see him getting the title. I just don't. But, and JBL, he says it literally every week ad nauseum. He says, hey, I had one chance, too, against Eddie Guerrero. If I didn't beat him, who knows what would have went down. He said, that's when I won my first world title. So he goes, it only takes one match. It's just, he literally says it every week.
And one move for JBL, which was his lariat. That's all he had.
Yeah, that and the fall-away slam.
Yeah, but even when he was getting older, he stopped doing the fall-away slam. He just did the lariat like 8 billion times.
That's a good point. This last topic is it's really interesting to me because Ben, it's one of the guys that you really enjoyed watching in TNA. It affects him. Crazy Steve has left NXT. Or I'm sorry, not NXT. He left Impact to go to NXT. And this is, it's not surprising that he went to NXT, and that's logical. It makes sense. It's just kind of weird in the timing of it because he left basically in the middle of a storyline, and now and that was the feud with LAX, which was outstanding. The work between those two factions has been outstanding. It's been awesome, and it makes sense on the Crazy Steve part to go to NXT because who knows what WWE is going to do with him? He could be like the next big star. We don't know. Crazy Steve is going to be fun to see in NXT. But I'm curious as to what you think. Is this has a huge impact, pardon the pun, on Impact Wrestling because it like I said, it killed a storyline and it potentially derails at least one career. Abyss and Rosemary, they're kind of left in the lurch. Rosemary can kind of do her own thing in the women's division, but you got to believe. They haven't been doing anything with Abyss other than the Decay stuff. He hasn't been doing singles matches. He hasn't been doing singles promos. He hasn't been doing anything unless it's been Decay. So you got to believe that. Well, at least I believe. This might be the end of the line for Abyss. What do you think? When I sent you that message, you and Adam, what were your thoughts when I sent the message that NXT and Crazy Steve is now a match? What were your thoughts on that?
Well, it only goes to show what I've said a billion times on here, that NXT is not developmental anymore. It's not.
Right.
You can say all you want, no, NXT is clearly developmental. No, it's not. It stopped being developmental a long time ago, kids. It is a spot where it is honestly at the level of Ring of Honor and TNA, where it's up there, except you still learn, which is how you can, I guess, keep it developmental, where you learn how to be in the WWE. That's literally it. Outside of that, you have all of these names coming in and being solid contributors when they come in, their names when they come in. For that alone, it's exciting. It is. It's honestly exciting that Crazy Steve is going to be in NXT. But yeah, I think what this means though is that Abyss's career is probably done, and rightfully so. It should be. He's run his course. Yep. It's time for him to hang it up anyways.
And he's gone on record saying he doesn't want to go to WWE. He wants to have his whole career in TNA, and of course he does independent shows too. But he wants to have his whole career in TNA, and he's perfectly fine with that because he was one of the first guys there. And he's been there for how long has it been? 10, 15 years, however long TNA's been there. He's been one of the first guys, and I applaud him. I applaud him if he. We all know that I'm not an Abyss guy. I can't stand him. But on another level, I respect the hell out of him if he stays true to his word and just says, no, I don't want anything to do with WWE. I'm done. But I'm curious to see what this is going to do to Rosemary because, like I said, she can do her own thing. She's got the most original female character probably ever. At least since Marlena with Goldust. What do you see this having any again, pardon the pun, any impact on her career at all? Because she still talks about the Hive and Decay and stuff like that, and she can still pull that off. But do you think this affects her at all?
Well, I think she finally gets to really focus on her singles career. I think if anything, him leaving is a benefit to her.
Right.
Because she gets to stand alone. But yeah, like I said, I think it's a benefit because she can finally stand out on her own and keep developing herself.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I don't see this affecting her at all.
It's a positive.
Yeah, I mean she's already the best in that faction. I mean she's so good, and but it was fun to see the evolution of Crazy Steve, because when he first came into TNA, he was literally part of the Menagerie, which was a circus show, and it was guys like him, the Freak, who was Rob Terry, Knox was the ringmaster. Rebel, the chick, the hot chick from TNA, she was in there. I mean, it was just a weird thing, and he was a goofy clown. He wore a honking nose and did all that stuff. But then I don't know. I missed when he turned, because I quit watching TNA for a while. But he made that turn into being Crazy Steve, like where he was just psycho and evil, and I thought that really helped propel him. But I'm definitely curious to see what WWE's going to do with him, because if they don't trust him to be on his own, he could still be Crazy Steve, and he could join Sanity and be with Eric Young and I forget those two big dudes with him, and Nikki Cross. I mean, there's so many things they could do with him, but I'm curious to see if they're going to keep him as Crazy Steve. I'm curious to see where this is going to go. I don't have anything else, Ben. I thought this was a fun episode, because we did cover our bases with WWE. We did. We'd be remiss not to. But we got to talk about some other things. Speaking of other things, why don't you tell the listeners what we have going on the network?
Well, Lions SRD is back in full swing. Even though there is an off season, we'll still have topics to talk about. Rookie training camp is over and in the books, and there was a major signing by not the Lions that changes the course of what the Lions will do.
Yep.
That's a tease, obviously, because we want you to listen to Lions SRD. Out of Bounds going strong. They're live every Monday and Thursday night on Facebook Live. Like their Facebook page, participate on their show, and if you don't like doing that, well, their podcast gets released every Tuesday and Friday. You still have the SRD Roadshow every Saturday from 9 to 11. Mitten Sports Talk on Sunday from 10 to 12. You can listen to that in podcast form on our website. Or if you want to listen to it live, crbradio.com. Pucking around, still going strong, because there is something called the Stanley Cup Playoffs that's still happening, apparently. And then, of course, Tigers SRD. That's going very strong with Chris and Roger. That's probably one of our strongest summer shows. So we have you covered. We have you covered on multiple angles. Also, Michigan Sports Truth with Taylor Phillips every night. We also have his podcast in case you miss an episode. So we have you covered. Also, I would be remiss, Marty, thank you for telling me telepathically about this. Horse racing, Preakness is Saturday. If you're a betting person, granted we can't guarantee you'll win, but Pete Spivak is a hell of a lot more right than he is wrong. Whippin' Nene will be available on Friday, so we will give you time to listen to it, digest it, and if you want, make a bet at your own risk.
Yep, and the guys over Under Fair, they just released, I believe, the Will Smith episode that we have alluded to before.
Yep.
Check that one out. So
that opening, guys, by the way, if you have not heard it, is amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out. I haven't listened to it yet, but those guys do great work. Even if you're not into sports as much and you just want sheer entertainment, that's the way to go. They do great topics. They'll pick a topic and they decide if it's overrated, underrated, or fairly rated. It's always entertaining, for sure. I think we covered all the bases this week. For Ben and Adam, I'm Marty. We'll catch you guys outside the ring.